Hello, hello, hey everybody. Wednesday night, another episode of Tracy Allen, Living in My Truth. How's everybody doing? Yes, today's topic is going to be recovery never stops. Construction never stops in a recovery lifestyle. Hey, come on in, come on in, come on in. Come on in, y'all. Just waiting for you to come in. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Waiting for you all. Wait for you guys to come in. Come on in, y'all. I'm waiting. It's titled today, Construction Never Stops in Recovery. Never. It is something that will continue to go on for the rest of our lives. I think in anybody's life, to be honest. And especially when you're rebuilding yourself, or just continuously rebuild yourself, and fix some things about yourself, learn some things about yourself, surrender to some things about yourself, all in that category, come on in, y'all. Come on in. Hey, Patrice Todd. Hey, cousin. How are you? Girl, not feeling real good today. Body is out of control. But I'm giving God the glory because I have made it so far through this day. I missed your live, but I did watch the replay and shared it Sunday. I had an event, so I was pretty busy. How are you, cousin? And tell Nene happy birthday. Yeah, I'm going to go over some things today, Treese. We did this before. I love you too, cousin, so much. Yeah, that Living in My Truth Awards show, girl, is right around the corner. Time just went fast. Fast. And but everything is doing great with it. I can't wait because it's going to be really nice. I really can't wait. I'm really excited about it. And you got to give me a call about that too. I'm just waiting for some folks to come on. Yeah, you can. Like, it have to be like yesterday, but yeah. She actually extended it for me too till today. Yeah. I told her some people, I don't want her to do it and then I can't get you in, get nobody in. So she extended it for me to this week. I appreciated that. I act like I can see without these glasses. These things work good for me when I really need them. And right now is one of those moments. You got that right. They in them streets, girl. You got that right. That's what part of this is, to try to get them out of there. Get them to help. Yeah, that warm weather outside. But you on there. I'm going to do this thing. If I don't get nobody, they can catch it on the replay. Yeah. Yeah, if you got your things together, you can definitely call me. Call me after this, so I can get it in. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna talk about today something that you had on your. I'm gonna get this fly. I don't know where it came from, but the weather has changed. I'm going to talk about. Remember when I listened to your episode one Sunday, and it's been a while, and you was talking about construction, and I did an episode on construction, but I'm gonna continue that episode today, that topic today. I thought about more how as a recovering person, and I feel as though as anybody, construction is forever. Because we always have to check ourselves. You know what I mean? We'll come to find out things about ourselves, things we need to do, things we need to change, how to stay on the right path, So I think life is just a construction area, you know what I mean? And, for a recovering addict or alcoholic, they must know that it's for a lifetime, and I'm going to combine it with why the 12 steps are the answer, for us, and the assignment for us to live, by us being broke down so bad, and then we get blessed by our higher power, and our will and wanting to change ourselves, and life is under construction. I think that's an awesome topic. And it's been a while since I talked about that, so I said I was going to talk some about that today. Some of maybe all. You said, yes, pardon my appearances, I'm under construction. Yeah, that thing was vicious. It was really good. It was really nice. So I'm going to make these announcements real quick, as I do every week. Just the announcing the honorees, starting with Quanisha Swiggett. She's an honoree of LMMT Awards. Councilman Fred Green, Bishop Anthony C. Hanna, Anitra Green, Bayot Williams, Marta Cotman, Rufus Cotman, Tara Jones, Reverend Dr. William Rocky Brown, Erica Tillery, Mary Almond, Coretta Kinder, Rossini, Dr. Tracy Townsend, and Sharon Potts. These are all the nominee honorees of Living in My Truth 2026. It's going to be real special, and it's going to be really awesome. And they all, hey Rabia, how are you? And they are all going to be honored with grace and glory. I'm so excited for them. You know, everybody that comes on the couch is going to be honored. There's no doubt about that. You know, last year we had twice as many, but, you know, I chose to keep it at a certain amount because I know through the year I'm going to have people who's going to come sit on this couch. So I'm trying to keep it, what's up, Rabia? At a standstill. And Living in My Truth this year, we're doing a 2026 Distinguished Civic Impact recipients, you know, and they will be Kiana Palmer, Trina Smith, Sharona Brown, Chaplain Amanda Johnson, Councilwoman Tamika Williams, you know, and Felicia Williams. These ladies here, they queens, y'all. They do such an awesome job with the community service in our city, in Chester, you know, by helping and giving, you know, from their hearts, you know, for the still suffering, for the homeless, you know, for the families who, you know, are in need. You know, I think that's one of the greatest things that, you know, we can do for our community, you know, and actually keep it going the way that they do. You know, they help way, 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 way more than we know. Sharona has been doing, you know, the, I can't get it out. I hate when that happens, y'all. Y'all know y'all gotta be patient with me because sometimes I get like a freeze. That lupus thing does that. You know, she's been doing, her and Felicia has been doing the autism march for 15 years. And trust me, I did not know that. You know, and I experienced it with them this year. It is such a beautiful experience. It is so awesome for the parents, you know, to know that there's people who, you know, share the same lifestyle with a child, you know, that they do. You know, anything that can help somebody is great. Anything that you could take your time and, you know, out your day, you know, and in your heart, you know, to put out to help somebody is just God's gift, you know, and that's how I see them. So I've never heard a lot of this, you know what I'm saying? And I have a autism grandson, you know what I'm saying? And Chance, you know, and we was out there, you know, and not just us, it was so many people, so many families, and I hope that that can spread, you know, so people, that's why I'm mentioning it on here, so, and honoring her, so people can know what a great job that she does. It's all kinds of rides and vendors and free this and free that, you know what I mean, drawings, and everybody's just out there enjoying themselves, you know, as a community, you know, and that's a blessing when you see that. That's just that type of life of autism that has now become under construction too. You know, people used to call kids, you know, and people like us, they used to call us retards, you know what I mean? You know, but now it's being respected that they're human beings too, you know what I mean? And they're just a little different. That's all, you know. And I'm going to give them their praise for that. You know what I'm saying? For being out there and doing what they do and putting mostly everything out there themselves. You know, so you know when you are nonprofit, you know, and you have love in your heart to help somebody else. Hey, Benita, to help somebody else, that's a blessing. You know, so this year, LMT Awards, I didn't do that last year, but I'm going to start doing it, you know, where, you know, bring, awarding the people who deserve it. You know what I mean? I just think it's a great thing, you know, and it comes from my heart. You know, when God say do something, I do it. You know, because it's all in construction. It's all considered, you know, what He wants done. The walk that we all walk. My topic today, y'all, I'm going to get this thing started. You know, I was trying to wait for others to come on, but I'm going to get it started now. How you been, Benita? Good to see you, girl. Appreciate you being on. Tonight I'm going to talk about construction. It never stops. You know, it's in our lives at all times. And when I speak for this, I'm speaking for you, the recovering people, everybody. You know, first we have to understand how we have to support our journey, you know, of those who are living and starving with recovery. You know what I mean? We have to submit, you know, accept, submit, and put on our battle, you know, for change. You know, change is not easy. Change is hard and harder for a lot of others. You know, to make my change in life today, it was not simple. It was not easy. You know, hey Jack, what's up? It wasn't easy. It was time. It was tough. You know, and the more and more I learned how to pray. You know, and do, you know, listen. You know, so that I can hear, allowed me to learn, to feel, and to make choices and decisions. You know, our lives is always under construction, and as an addict, that's what we do. You know, we're gonna always be under construction because to build this life, it is not simple. You know, first we get, you know, the thought, we get honest. You know, you got to get honest with yourself. You know, when you want to go through these things, the person you lie to the most is self. You know what I'm saying? You know, recovery is getting honest enough to see your own BS, you know, before everyone else does. You know, meaning that, you know, hey Tia, because we're liars. You follow what I'm saying? I say this every episode because you really need to know that. You know, if you don't think that you are. People say, I told little lies. No, you told big lies. You know what I mean? You're telling yourself a big lie when you say you told little lies. Because once you become a liar in addictive life, hey, that thing gets out of control and you don't even know you no more. You know what I mean? You just know the lie you. You know, and that's a whole nother self being developed, you know, in that world of being under construction, you know, becoming an addict, you know, or alcoholic, you know, if that's the case or whatever, the drug of choice, you know. But then we have that construction that can help us to rebuild, you know. So that word construction just sticks in my head, you know, and I've been thinking about it all week long. I said, what am I going to share when I come on live this week? And I remembered the episode of you, Treese, and I did it before, you know. And then I just started thinking, and God put this in my heart. He put this in my head, you know what I mean? So I'm just going to continue to settle, you know, share it with y'all. You know, the meditation that we do takes it's like a practice of self-honesty, you know. We have to learn how to get honest before we can do anything. If we're not honest, you know, we can't make the right decisions or choices. You know, we don't feel nothing. We still numbed. You know how they build a building and then they knock it down and it goes all the way down to the steel, the bricks, you know, and all that, and they all fall down and get on top of each other. That's how our lives become once we get under the influence of drugs and alcohol. It's just like being in a tumble of bricks, you know, that are so heavy that we can't lift them to get out, you know, and we'll try and we'll try and we'll try on our own, but you know, some of the bricks get bigger and bigger. You know, they say you got to go down and get underneath the basement. Well, you can't get out. You can't get out. It's dark in there. That's that tunnel I talk about. You can't get out. You know what I mean? You have to really put your mind and to a surrender. You know what I mean? And once you mean that surrender, because you can't get out now, you're in this dark place that all this building done fell down on, you know what I mean, and you can't lift the pieces to get out of this building. You know, you have to really start, you know, that meditation, you know what I mean. You gotta, you know, get deep in your head, you know, as bad as it hurt, you know, and say, look, I can't lift these bricks. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, you know what I mean. And then at that point, here comes a new construction, you know, because you're ready to surrender. You're ready to say, you know what, I'm going to lift these bricks and I'm going to do them all one at a time. But it's so many bricks to lift, you know what I mean? You can get from one layer to the next layer to the next layer to the next layer. And as you go on, you know what I mean? You're lifting off some of this weight that has been on top of you and had you in the darkness all this time. You know, today I practice self-honesty without the self-destruction. You know what I mean? So that's that building that fell down. You know, here comes all, you was all into self-destruction. You now it's time to build, and let's build this life of construction, you know, back, you know, so we can get to know who we are. You know what I mean? Because we were lost when we committed to drugs and alcohol. You just don't know self no more. You really don't. You know what I mean? I don't know anybody who can say that, you know, we still think we the same way, but our actions and what we do and our thinking is not, you know, and we have no control of changing it until we decided, you know, to be sick and tired of sick and tired. We was talking today on my job. I don't hear recovering people say rock bottom no more. You know, and we had a conversation on that, you know, and it was like, what's rock bottom? That's what I was asked. You know, what is rock bottom? You know, in generations, for me, I was young when I decided to get clean. And I had people like Levert Todd and Doc Watson and John Reed, you know, they were old heads. You know what I mean? You know, we call them old heads like they calling us today. You know, I'm getting called old head by my clients and everything, right? But it made me realize the generation gap in this, you know, and how we think in these different generations that has passed and what it has succumbed to today. You know, we know a lot of thinking today is outrageous. It's crazy. You know, people just change things, you know, by their age. Like, to me, some of the things that I see, you know, in the rooms at times, you know, and from recovering people, you know, to me it's like, I mean, we ain't used to do that. You know what I mean? That's not how that is. We didn't do things like that. But back in my time, you know, in them 80s and early 90s when I was getting clean, you know what I mean? Time was different. Drugs was different. You know what I mean? And, you know, kids are different today. You know what I mean? People done changed, you know, and then the generation from me then until now, it's a total change, y'all. It's a total change. I understand what they meant by when they say change is constant, nothing constant but change. But we got to keep the tradition of the 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous and Alcoholic Anonymous alive. You know what I mean? So that everyone can have, you know, that construction build that you are about to build up. You know, there's different ways to talk about it now, using the word construction trees. And I mean, it was just something that hit me and gave me chills all in my body, and it made me come up with everything I'm getting ready to talk about and what I talked about then now. You know, because you can almost match anything to life in recovery. You know what I mean? To help build yourself back up. You know, again, I could take a brick and sit there and look at it and come up with something about recovery that reminds me or is the same as what this brick is, you know, today, you know. And they said, what is rock bottom? I said, what is rock bottom? Rock bottom is when you done. There's nothing else you can do. You feel like you're just walking dead alive. You know, you have nowhere to eat. You have nowhere to sleep. You have nobody supporting you. You know what I mean? You just feel like you want to die. Some will try to kill themselves. You know what I mean? You know, hey, Breon, you can't listen. You can't do anything but hurt and suffer. You know what I mean? Because all that big pile of bricks done fell down on you. You know what I mean? And they're too heavy for you to lift up. You know, and your thinking thought process is tore up. It's gone. You know what I mean? So when you get scared, even being scared, you know, you get scared, you get fed up, you get done, and you like, wow, I need to do something. Somebody got to help me or I'm going to die. You know what I mean? And a lot of people think of death when it comes to rock bottom. That's how it was back in the day. That's totally how I thought. I said, if I don't get help, you know, I'm going to die out here. You know? Because drugs don't discriminate. They don't have no friends. Drugs is doing what it do. It kills people. Like all the people that I know is gone today. You know what I mean? And the people that are dying from it physically because they didn't understand or think that this poison can do anything to them, you know, like it did to an active, what they quote unquote call junkie. You know what I mean? Or alcoholic. You know, but this thing do what it do if you're doing it. You know what I'm saying? So if you're doing it in any way, you know, or you have been doing it for quite some time, you know, your building is just getting rocky. That's all. You know, if you're not out there scriming and scruffling like, you know, me and other addicts was, you know, and for me, something was worse than what I've done. You know what I mean? But I know for me, my rock bottom was rock bottom. You know, and everybody don't feel the same way about a rock bottom to where they get to in this lifestyle, but we'll come up with the same information about it. And once we follow them 12 steps in Narcotics Anonymous, going through the step from step 1 to step 12 is going to explain that, you know, to you on how these things happen before your eyes by you doing it without being able to think, feel, or listen or hear. You know what I mean? And you're going to understand how you got there. You know, but you cannot rebuild if you don't have a plan, if you don't have something to rebuild by. And first and foremost comes in any program or any type of shelters or churches, you know what I mean, religious places, is prayer. You have to accept that your life is unmanageable. You know, you have to accept that your life is unmanageable, because dealing with drugs and alcohol, this thing is so tricky and vicious. It'll make you think that that's what you're doing until you start feeling a little better, and it'll make you think you got enough, and you ain't even did step 1 yet. You know what I mean? Just to get out of the hole, you know, to take one of the bricks off you that's on you real heavy, you know, and you can't really move, you can't really breathe, you can't do anything anymore. That's rock bottom. You know, enough is enough. Disease will make you say it 1,000 times, and it'll allow you to even start it all over again, and then relapse and start, and then relapse and start. If the relapsing is continuing, that means you haven't hit rock bottom yet. Rock bottom is going to be when you are ready. Rock bottom is going to be when you surrender. Rock bottom is going to be when you start praying and asking God to help you help yourself. You know, coming to believe in Him, you know, and then, you know, you'll start learning how to want something for yourself, because, see, disease erases all of that. You said, Quanisha, yes, substance abuse can rob you of your life. It absolutely robs you of your life. It takes your life. You're not walking around, you're walking around here living dead. You know what I mean? You're dying. You know, as long as you get high, as long as you drink yourself away and get high, you know, like we do, you are walking dead. you know, until you drop dead, you know. I've seen it. You know what I mean? I seen it way before I even became the junkie. You know what I mean? But it didn't scare me. You know, because my emotions wasn't involved in that. You know what I mean? Because in my head, I always said it can never be me. You know that word, never, y'all. You know, and all along, my construction of this building has just crashed down on me. I have nowhere to go. Family don't trust me no more. Kids hurting. You know what I mean? Me, I don't care what I'm looking like. I don't care what I'm doing. I'm out here in these streets. You know what I mean? Not wanting to be sometimes, but then disease say, shut up. You gonna be. You follow? I don't care how you was in the street. You know, most people say, well, I wasn't out there tricking. Well, you was out there getting paid. Tricking is tricking. I don't care how you look at it. In your mind, you're going to make yourself believe that it's not. But it really is. Especially when they change on you and start treating you like you a damn trick. You know what I'm saying? There's always a generation that's coming up that sweep you right on out the way. You follow what I'm saying? But when they want to be treated, they want to be treated. You know, and it doesn't matter who the person is that used to have respect for you and then just start disrespecting you because you've fallen. You know what I mean? Your construction has failed. You know what I mean? And now you just going for anything or doing anything just for a couple dollars. You know what I'm saying? You know, or just for them to get that drug for you. You follow? Believe me, when you become an addict, you know, the lie that you lied that I told you from the beginning takes over. You know, your lies you really believe. You know, and you'll protect your lies because you think by lying is protecting you anyway. How about that one? You think the lying is protecting you anyway. And when the drugs, you know, come in, it really makes you think you're inseparable. Inseparable. It really does. Like, don't nobody see it. Don't nobody know it. You know, you can't even see your own change. You know, you can't see how you look anymore. You can't see how or feel how you're acting anymore. You're just under that influence, under that zombie influence. You know what I mean? That it's good and everything is okay. And anybody that got something to say about it going to have to hear something from me. You know what I mean? And it's going to come from the first lie that I told to the next lie that I told up until the lie I'm getting ready to tell you. You know what I mean? That you the lie and I'm not. I'm the truth. You follow? So this thing gets real deep. It gets real deep. You know, today I practice self-honesty without the self-destruction. You know, this is what I'm talking about, how the destruction came all in my life, you know, that used to come with me, you know, and come with it. All of it. All that self-destruction. I'm telling you, you be self-destructing and don't even see it. You be self-destructing and don't even know it. You know, you get away with something one time, then you're gonna feel like you're strong and you know you're good and this is all right. You know what I'm saying? Then you'll do it again. And then the next time when you get high again, that high gets worse than the first time did. You know what I'm saying? And then when you get away with it again, that high gets worse than the last time did it. And it keep going over and over and over again until you hit rock bottom. So rock bottom is a continuous get high that destroys you, zombie you, you know what I mean? And then you're walking around like the living dead. You follow? Because you have no conscience. You have no sense of knowing. You have no sense of worrying about anything. You have no sense of what people see, feel, hear, or know. You know, because now you're done. Now you are the junkie. Now you are the alcoholic that you said that you'll never be. You know, or you'll never allow yourself to get that way. That's why they teach us about that word never. Never say never because you just don't know. You know what I mean? So today I say I'm glad that I don't ever, you know, want to use again. You know what I mean? Because disease is cunning, baffling, and powerful. You know, and it's a strong entity. That's what I can call it. You know, and it can take over at any given time. You know, they came up with a lot of words, just like you saying, Quanisha, substance abuse. When we hear some stuff like some substance abuse, we ain't trying to hear that. That sounds like I abuse drugs. You follow what I'm saying? So that there alone, just saying substance abuse make me mad. You telling me that I'm a junkie. You know what I'm saying? These things happens to us. Our minds really, you know, become destructive and they fall apart. You know what I mean? So we can't hear what's needed to be heard You know what I mean? We can't listen to what's needed to be heard because we can't hear. So that means we don't get it and we don't see it, and we feel defensive as you talk to us any kind of way, especially if I thought I was better than you anyway. You follow what I'm saying? Because when you're around people who, admire you and know you, or they think you the bomb and you this and you that, and then you become a junkie, oh, wow. You still feel like you got them beat. You know what I'm saying? And they just jealous, or they hating. That's a new word, too. Hating. Hating wasn't back in the day like that, but it is today. Words are vicious. Let me let y'all know. Words are vicious. Believe me, we may say something that we don't think we're saying, that the addict will think you're saying something to be smart, or you saying something, to break them down. You know what I'm saying? Because, these words that we have today, and now we have the counselors, and we had all that, and back in the day, you know what I mean? That didn't come in. Yet. You know what I'm saying? You just had recovering people that was putting their thing down and wasn't taking no smack, and today, it's all kinds of case managers, counselors, you know what I mean? And those words for us will get in our heads, you know what I mean? And the first thing, disease, that destruction that's in your brain to make you think, who are you? You ever used before? That's one of the first things we ask somebody. You don't understand me. You ain't from where I'm from. I don't care if you're from Timbuktu. An addict is an addict. You have this disease, don't discriminate. You could be from the top of the Capitol. Disease don't discriminate. So you have to know a lot of these things about our life. I can admit when I'm wrong today. Before I couldn't do that. And in my addiction, I ain't admit nothing. I'm gonna lie. It's just point blank, to the point. You know what I'm saying? Would you say that is the mindset of an addict? I am an addict. That's why I'm talking this real talk. You know what I'm saying, Quanisha? And you saying exactly. Hey, look, let me tell you. I'm not going to get on here and lie. I'm not going to get on here and exaggerate. I only can talk what I know. You know what I mean? And I'm going to try to put all the truth that I know of, that has set me free. You understand what I'm saying? On this live. So somebody else can know that they can get it too. And they can do it too by just hearing it real and raw. I'm that way even at work. I'm real and I'm raw. Some people can't take it, and some people can, because a liar is a liar, and a liar can't take the truth. You know what I'm saying? So the truth is the enemy, and the truth hurts. The truth, hearing the word truth sometimes will make you get worse. You know what I'm saying? Because you saying what you saying. I'm lying. Hell yeah, I'm saying you're lying. You're lying your butt off. That's what you're doing. I mean, that blunt and that straight. You know what I mean? You got to understand this, see? Because you're not even sitting here listening to me. You ain't listening to me because you can't hear. That's why you can't hear what I'm saying. Because that defense shield of that lie that you are, it takes time to unpack it. You follow what I'm saying? It takes time to surrender to it that I am a liar. You know what I mean? And I did tell lies. I told a little lie, then it got bigger, then it got bigger, then it got bigger, then I told them some more, until I forgot that I was lying. I became the lie, lived the lie, and talked the lie. Ain't nothing coming out of me is going to be the truth. Maybe times the disease allow you, when you hit and rock bottom, you know what I'm saying? It allow you to try to get honest, you know what I mean, to say you need help. You know what I mean? But see, you done already impact yourself as the liar walking dead. You follow what I'm saying? And you don't have nobody that's going to be in your corner to believe you. Even when they really want to try to help you or try to believe you, your lies is just vicious. They're vicious. And you can sit there and cry with them, roll over the floor with them, act like you're going to jump off a roof with them, jump in front of a bus with them. You know what I mean? The acting and the lying becomes you. You don't even know how to be humanized anymore. You follow what I'm saying? Because disease is cunning, baffling, and powerful. This thing touched me when I talk about this thing. Because I tried, I promise y'all, I'll tell you, I tried, but I was trying without having a higher power in my life, or trying, not believing in that prayer stuff worked. That's what I used to say, and I used to say it in a very different way, the mouth. You follow what I'm saying? And I believed it. I believed every bit of it. You understand? Today, I've learned. Today, I found something that helped me to get honest. You know, today I live by structure. Today, I'm living under construction. And this is what I'm talking about. All this stuff was fallen disaster. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm living under a construction that's building me up and making me better and better and better. You know, even if nobody else could see it or nobody else believe it, and all the ones I used to lie to probably still looking at me saying, she lying. You know what I mean? But sticks and stones can break my bones and names don't hurt me anymore, because I know I live my truth, because I got a God who's greater than any and all that I respect, that I go to, that I trust in, you know, before anybody. And when I say anybody, I mean anybody, including myself, you know, and I listen to. I can hear him talk to me now. You know what I mean? He helps me with everything that I'm dealing with. You know, he's there when nobody else is and when nobody else was. And thank God for my cousin LeBert that I found that out. You know what I'm saying? That he's always been there for me. You know, I just had to accept the things that I couldn't change, you know, and now change the things that I can. And today I have the wisdom to know the difference, because, see, my building has been built, you know what I mean? And I'm still building it higher and higher and higher, and I'm still under construction, and I know I'm going to be under construction for the rest of my life, because I got a disease in me that's cunning, baffling, and powerful, and it's never going to leave me alone, you know, so I have to always keep building. I got to always stay on top, you know what I mean? So this thing won't crumble me again back to destruction, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm too tuned in, you know what I mean? And too determined to stay clean, you know, and stay under this construction. I can't even get over top of it, because then I'll be putting things somewhere where they may not need to be, you know, because none of us know our destiny. We can only live one day at a time, and then things happen differently pretty much every day. Do you follow what I'm saying? And being under the influence of drugs and alcohol in my life definitely allows me to know that. You know what I mean? That living is one day at a time. You know? You know? Like I was telling y'all, I can admit when I'm wrong, when I'm scared, and when I'm pretending that I have everything together. You know what I'm saying? Everything is not always together. You know what I mean? I'm in pain every day. You know what I'm saying? With a sickness called lupus. You know what I mean? Y'all, shout out to Lupus Month this month too. You know what I mean? And recovery as well. You know, I'm in pain every day. Some days is worse than others. You know what I mean? No, but God gets me up, and he gets me motivated, and he gets me to moving. You know what I mean? You know, to remind me, you know what I'm saying, that life is still under construction. I just look at everything that way. You know, the old me would have doubled down. You know what I'm saying? You know, the recovery me knows that admitting the truth is always the way through this storm. You know what I mean? And I jot things down anymore, y'all, because lupus kind of like, you know, get my brain foggy sometimes. It's crazy, but that's what happens. You know what I mean? Like my words slipping and all that kind of stuff. You know, but I pray and ask God to just keep it moving. You know what I mean? Just keep me, just give me your love, your strength, and I'm gonna work this thing, and I'm gonna challenge this thing, and I'm gonna keep on moving every day until he decides to call me home with this thing. You know what I'm saying? Prayer, you know, prayer gives me the strength to stay honest with myself. It gives me the strength to stay honest with you. You know what I mean? Then I had to learn acceptance. You know, I know acceptance is the answer to all my problems. You know what I mean? Today I have to accept the things that I can't change. You know, and change things that I can. When I'm disturbed, it's because I find some places, sometimes I could be in the wrong places with the wrong people. You know what I mean? At the wrong time, I had to fix that too. You know what I mean? Because I'm under construction. You follow? And then that a lot of sometimes it could be destruction. You know what I'm saying? So I have to make that choice and acknowledge the fact that this is where I don't need to be. This is where I can't be. This is where my lie will re-exist. if I continue to be around these people and these places and these things. Now, going into the rooms today, I went to a meeting and I was like crazy with it. I was like, goodness gracious, this thing really changed. You know what I'm saying? And this what made me talk about that change a little bit. It's like, wow, it's young. You know what I mean? And I didn't think about that. I'm thinking about when I was in NA, when I was going to AA. You know what I mean? I was the young person. Now I'm the old head. You know what I mean? And a lot of them, that's in there, a lot of my clients complain about NA sometimes. Dad, this is where they want me to go. This is what you want me to do. You know what I mean? And when you go in there, you're not even pretty much welcome like we used to be welcomed. You know what I'm saying? Because mostly everybody is young, and young thinking is different than our thinking. By the generation. Y'all understand what I'm saying? So when they ask me that and they bring that to me, I'm on the level of like, this is how disease is so cunning, baffling, and powerful. I'm on the level like I'm still where I was when I was going in the room. This is how it is. This is how it should be. You should go. You got to go. And you still do. Because no matter what comes our way in recovery, no matter what comes our way, and we have that higher power that's greater than ourselves, you know what I mean? We have to stand strong, because things that don't go right, or people that's not doing what they're supposed to do, you have to learn from that too. Today we learn from the good of it and the bad of it. You know what I mean? This is part of our construction. You know what I'm saying? Most people run from it and say, I ain't doing that, I ain't going nowhere. But see, disease is cunning, baffling, and powerful. You'll come to a group and say, well, I'm not going to that one because I didn't like this person or what they did. Just like they say in the church. You don't come to church for the people. You come to church for God. You follow what I'm saying? Same thing that I'm looking at now, like, actually that I actually went again, and it's been a while, because I'm on Zooms, you know what I mean, doing different ways, because today, technology, you can do a whole lot. Recovery, by the rooms. They got Zooms, they got so many of them, and they're great. You know what I mean? But when I was there, I could just feel it. I felt it. You know what I mean? You got they all into the styling. You know what I mean? They did that when I was in the rooms. People go to the mall every week just to come in there clean and sharp. You know what I mean? To be that person. You know what I'm saying? But everybody in the rooms is equal. You know what I mean? Because we're all addicts and alcoholics, and this is what the 12. Literatures and everything tells us, and how they ran the meetings and everything. And I understand that everybody is getting older, and then you have the younger. They're really young, coming into NA and AA, and it's becoming a thing. You know what I'm saying? It helps some people, and some people go, and some people are even rehab. You go into rehab, you go in for help, you might come out worse than what you went in as. You know what I'm saying? And then you get in there and you stop using, and everybody thinks you got to stop using. Yes, we do, but that's just a part of this construction. You have to change your thinking. The change in your thinking is what's going to keep you from not using. You know what I mean? You can't go into in the rooms, you know what I mean, and I'm clean now, I'm this and I'm that, but then go back around the same people, places, and things that you came from. You know what I mean? You like challenging the devil. You follow? Because that's all that is. And most people wonder, how did I do this? How did I relapse? You still around them same people, places, and things. You just can't do it. They come with your families. It comes with your hangouts. It comes with, it can be anywhere. Anywhere that what you were doing before you got clean and made that conscious contact and that decision to say, I hit rock bottom and I'm going to fight this thing. I'm going to do what I have to do. This is not a fight temporarily. This is not a fight till you think you feel good. This is a lifetime fight until you dead. That's what this is, because disease is vicious. Disease ain't going to cut you no break. And don't forget, it got your brain up in the dopamine part, all broke up into puzzles like the Matrix, and you just think you're making the right decisions, and all these pieces is going in the wrong places because you're trying to squeeze them in because you're saying, I don't get high no more, or I'm not going to use no more. I'm here to tell you the real deal on what you got to continuously do. You have to change your thinking. I suggest that you change your thinking. You know, because if you change your thinking, you're going to become stronger. You know what I mean? You're going to become more aware, and you're going to become smarter. Because, see, you got to be smart to deal with this disease. This thing is vicious. I know it's out to kill me, hate me. That's why I feel like that's why I got this lupus, because I'm helping people. And I've been helping people for a long time. And they say, okay, I can't get you that way. I'll get you this way. You follow what I'm saying? And that was said to me by Evangelist Patrice. You know what I mean? When I first got sick, you know, she said, Trey, she said, it's just the devil. You know what I mean? Which is disease. You know, this fly passed me one more time, y'all. It's killing me. You know, it's getting warmer now. But she said, he's just angry at you because you're saving help saving his people. You know, as well as you broke away from him. I understand it clearly now. You know, I was in tears when she was telling me that. You know, and she made a lot of sense to me because of that. So yes, we have to change our thinking, and for all that we change our thinking in the right area, you know, areas in our life. You know what I mean? Like I told you, when you pray and you do as God asks you to do, and you share it and you give it back, you know what I mean? And no means no by any means necessary. You know what I mean? The armor just keep hitting you. It comes on like Iron Man. You lift up and here comes some more armor. You know what I mean? Before you know it, you completely armored up. You know what I mean? And you a soldier. You know, you're ready to fight this thing and fight it for others too. And this is what he gives me here, this podcast, to do my fighting. You know what I mean? And walk this walk, to talk this talk. And that's what I do today. And I hope I'm doing a good job. You know what I mean? Even not good, a great job. You know, because if I get one person who's helping themselves today and a family member who understands more about this disease of addiction, you know what I mean? My job is well done. Well done. Patrice said the devil wants you to shut up. Exactly. But God wants you to help so many people, and you are doing just that. Appreciate that, Treese. You know, you built me up when you told me that. That's another part of construction. You know what I mean? You gave me another level. You follow? And I took that level, you know, and I ran with it. You follow? And it's working, and I appreciate you for that. You know, because I was falling in. You know that I was falling in, and I was starting to feel sorry for myself. And you know what I mean? Dad, this thing gonna kill me. I don't know nothing about it. You know what I mean? How I get it. It took my hair out. You know what I'm saying? My body is crazy. I don't know what's going on with me. The dumb doctor I had at first, I don't think he knew either. You know what I mean? But God sent me into another doctor who was my cousin once again. She said, Trey, you got to go to a specialist. Now, I'm thinking I'm being helped by this guy. You know what I mean? Never did I think of a specialist, y'all. I'm telling you God's truth. You know what I'm saying? I just prayed and I put it in God's hands. You know what I mean? But then he sent me her to build me up. You know what I mean? Here's that construction again. To build me up. You know, give me some information. Because, see, we both do the same thing in a certain way. You follow what I'm saying? We help people. We do what God asks us to do. You know what I mean? My cousin is a preacher, and I'm just a grateful recovering addict. You know what I mean? I need no title. All I have to do is say, look, I'm a junkie. You follow? Who's in recovery. And I have no problem with saying that. And people say, why you keep telling me you're a junkie? Because I know that I am. I know that this disease that I have just don't go away. You can't take no buffering and no aspirin and none of that crap with this thing. You know what I mean? We got to keep on building that construction up to take them bricks off of the destruction that disease put us under. I'm still lifting bricks. And they're getting lighter, but I'm still lifting bricks. And I know it's going to always be my challenge because I have a disease that's cunning, battling, and powerful and never goes away. You know? And I'm not walking around here thinking just because I don't use no more, or I've been clean off of cocaine for 40 matter of fact, it'll be Mother's Day, it'll be 42 years. That's my anniversary, is on Mother's Day. You know what I mean? And that I'm special. You know what I'm saying? Or that I'm better than somebody else, or I don't have to worry about, this disease anymore. Oh no, I believe in the truth of it all. I believe what my higher power has said to me, and brought to me. I do as I'm told to do. I believe in the 12 steps. I live by the 12 steps. I use them 12 steps for any and everything that goes on in my life. And somewhere in there, it helps me to figure out the situation. You know what I mean? And it keeps me continuously getting that armor. You know what I'm saying? Because that's my goal, and that's what I'm going to do, and I believe in it. I believe in it. And with this, you have to come to believe in it. You have to come to believe in some type of higher power. You know what I'm saying? Because until I did is when I started doing. Oh, shoot, that was pretty cool when I said it right there. You know what I mean? Because I'm feeling this thing a little bit. You know what I'm saying? But you have to. I deal with a lot of situations, in times. I got best friends. I got sisters. I have children. I have a husband. But when it comes to the nitty-gritty for me, I talk to God. I do. I talk to God. You know what I'm saying? Because that's who I trust in the most. That's who has directed me to where I am today. You know what I mean? And I truly know, and I truly believe, and I truly feel everything about him. You understand what I'm saying? I got little things I got to still fix up. My little mouth can get a little party mouth and all that stuff sometimes. You know what I mean? But guess what I'm doing today? I'm learning how not to let it happen. And you know what I do? I find myself when I'm around certain people, places, and stuff, I will act as if I forgot all about not cussing. You know what I mean? So I'm starting to take aware of it now. That's just me still under construction. You know what I'm saying? And that's disease showing me that, I still got you, little hussy. You know what I'm saying? I'm still here. Don't think I'm not here, but my change has to come for that. You know what I mean? And I really have to look at it as I have started looking at it. It's no sense it really means for me to have a mouth so nasty. At least I'm trying not to do the F words, you know what I'm saying? And taking it one day at a time. But when I'm around certain people, you know what I mean? And certain places doing certain things, that thing just popped right up like nowhere. Like I didn't even try to start stopping, but that's the same thing my disease did. The same exact thing. And I was believing that I was there, I was getting there, and I was going to change, you know what I mean? But then that thing got worse, right in front of my face, and I was too blind to see and too deaf to hear, because I couldn't listen, so I couldn't hear, you know what I mean? So that means I couldn't see. So my process through this whole recovery thing, I have to use no matter what the situation is. You know what I mean? And in order for me to get better, change has to come. It just has to come in many areas that I live. You know what I'm saying? And I'm down for it. I'm really down for it. This is why I'm saying, as I learned how to pray, it gives me the strength to stay honest with myself. Acceptance to, know, it's an answer to my problem. It's something that I can help myself with. I just have to start in step one. You know what I mean? No matter what I do or how I do it, step one always have to come, especially when it becomes a struggle. You know what I mean? And a lot of things in me that has to be changed. I don't rush everything. I take it one day at a time. Some people don't even know how to set me no more, but that's okay. You know what I mean? I found God in my life, and I'm not being ignorant. I'm being selfish. Because I have a selfish me today. You know what I mean? I have to. You may not be sick, but I'm sick. You know what I'm saying? I have to have God first. And some don't like it, but I can't help that because I love it. You know what I mean? And I'm in my little world of peace. Even though disease keep throwing things at me and bringing things in, I haven't fell yet. And I have no intentions on failing because I understand and I realize that I'm under construction. I'm always going to be under construction till death do me part. But if I'm going to win, I'm going to win. You know what I mean? And I have help. I have literatures. I have information and education on what I'm doing and how I'm living. And it's something that I don't know. I don't have a problem with asking. You follow what I'm saying? I get opinions from everybody, or some people, but if I don't agree with it, I don't. You know what I mean? If I don't do it like you said, you asking me, or this could be this, or you think I should be doing something this way, you know what I mean? And I don't feel like I should be doing it this way. I'm going to do it that way. You know what I mean? I'm going to make my own choice and my own decision, but that don't mean I don't hear you giving me suggestions. You know what I mean? I pray about it, and then I get that right answer. You know? That's how I'm living. You know? And some people, just don't get that. I mean, family, friends, everybody. You know what I mean? Today, I just know that living under construction for me is very important to recognize that. You know what I mean? Some people don't they feel like everything is okay because, they smooth and groove and they never did drugs, or they never did this, or they never did that. That's why we don't say never. You know what I mean? Because I never would have thought I became a junkie either. I never would have thought that I'd be out there doing all those things I was doing either. You know what I mean? I never would have thought that I would be a mother out there in the streets and can't even be there with 2 kids. At the time, you know what I'm saying? Because when I was in that life, I thought I felt good and I thought I wasn't worried about anything. And I'm out in society's way of living and in society's life, and disease all the time got me. You follow what I'm saying? I just didn't know it had me. You know what I'm saying? And I'm thinking that I'm reeling on this smooth groove like a lot of you do. A lot of you think that stuff, oh, well, I still never picked this, or I still never done that, and I don't drink that much. You drink much, as much as you drink is drinking. You follow what I'm saying? But you haven't hit a bottom, or you haven't hit a situation where your destruction has become very, 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 very destructive. You know what I'm saying? So you're not going to feel that. You're not going to feel that until it's meant for you to feel it. But you don't have to go through it or challenge it or try to act as if all this is cool and I'm strong and I'm this. Because when you put these poisons inside you, baby, it's doing the same thing it's doing to us. We just ran with it. That's all. It destroys. When you need them parts, they may not be working. And then things may go into malfunction inside of you. And the first thing a doctor going to ask you, do you drink a drug? You know what I'm saying? Because they already know what the thing can do. As far as I'm concerned, they part of putting it out there as far as I'm concerned. Scientists and all that stuff. You know what I mean? My mind be aware of all of them today. You know what I'm saying? They offered me a medication for this lupus and told me the only thing is the side effects will make you break out into rashes and you'll get sores in your mouth. I said, well, what would I want to take that for? You follow? I ain't in no rashes now, and sores ain't breaking out in my mouth. I'm going to trust in God. I'm not doing that. I don't care what your side effects is. Every medicine has a side effect. You follow? No, I'm not doing that. I'm just not hearing you. I'm listening. You know what I mean? I'm listening today. So listening allows me to hear what you're saying. And then it makes me make sense of what you're saying. You know what I mean? Hey, I feel like this. I trust in God more than I do you. Bottom line. And that's truly from the heart. Because I am under construction. You understand? And I'm not just going to let anything or what you say make sense to me when I feel the opposite. I feel different. Doctor or no doctor. You follow? That's the same thing I said about the doctors with them drugs. Like, they wouldn't bother me. They ain't going to hurt me. I'm strong enough. I'm cool enough. I'm that girl. This thing can happen. I ain't going to let it get me like that, man. I'm going to stop. I'm just going to stop. That's what I said. I'm just going to stop. Ha! He said, welcome to the world of sickness. That's what it said to me. Welcome. And I didn't even hear it say it. You know what I mean? It just got me jiggling around like a puppet. You follow what I'm saying? Like a puppet, believing that this thing is not doing nothing to me. Even when I was doing it socially, even when I was drinking socially, I thought I could handle that too, and that shit made you feel sick. Anything to make you still feel sick, that's a side effect. I can see all that today. You know what I mean? That's why I'm not interested. I walk that walk enough to know. You know what I mean? When we lit, we lit. And I don't care how you look at that and say that. And I know when we lit, that means we poured it on. You know what I mean? To you, you thought you had it under control. You follow what I'm saying? Then some of us have heart attacks. Some of us have strokes. You know what I mean? All that is wound up with that mess. Believe me today. I believe that. You don't have to, but I do. I see it so much. I see it so much. And just for us to experience it, y'all know good and well, when you take enough drinks that'll get you lit, you black out. You know what I mean? You might not think you remember everything, but some things you won't remember. It depends on how lit you get, you know? And no, I don't think anybody can say that when you get drunk. Drunk is drunk. That's the word, y'all. Drunk. You know? Man, I was drunk. The new word is lit. Man, I was lit last night. Toe up. From the flow up. And we really make ourselves believe that it's okay. You know? We make ourselves believe that this thing was fun. You know what I mean? And the whole time it's doing damage. You know? It's doing damage. You know? Oh, man. I needed to concentrate not so much on what happens in the world as what's need to be changed in me. You know what I mean? I have to put a lot of my concentration in there, you know, and sometimes it's my attitude. Sometimes it's my nonchalantness, you know, situations like that. Sometimes it's just my plain old authentic self. You know what I mean? That people can't handle with me, or people think that, you know, when I'm talking about drugs and alcohol, I think I know everything. I know this. You don't have to believe it. Because all I'm giving out here is suggestions anyway. I'm just talking what I talk because I walk the walk. You know, there's some that has been out there more than me, you know, but the disease is no different than mine. You know, and I thank God that I was able to give in of all that destruction. That's what it is. Destruction. You're just going down. And disease will allow you to feel like it's okay. You know what I mean? But you going down one way or another. It messes with your sight, your hearing, your tasting, everything. You know? You going down. There's no doubt about it. Something's going down. You know what I mean? It takes you down and into destruction so deeply that you forget. You forget all about you. You forget all about everything. You forget about God. And then sometimes we don't forget about God and we pray to God, but we don't mean it. We just want to be rescued at that time. You got to surrender. You got to surrender and you got to give in. You know what I mean? You have to learn how to get that truth back within yourself. You know, so you can become something greater than yourself. You follow what I'm saying? This thing is vicious. You need that help. You need that help by somebody who's greater than you that can put the balance, the fight up for you. You know what I mean? That you come to believe in and you listen to and you find the right structure. You find the right person that can help you. And for me, it was the 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous, NAAA, you know what I'm saying? That helped me to restore my sanity. Under construction. Under construction. I hope y'all hear me. I do. Hey, Om. How you doing? Hey, friend. Marta, what's happening? You know, I hope y'all hear me tonight. You know what I mean? Trish, you were saying, yeah, it's getting hot now. People don't want to sit around and, you know, listen to, you know, podcasts or whatever. Hey, look, I'm happy. I'm happy when you came on. I was going to do this same thing. You know what I mean? Because the right timing is the right timing for anybody. And with this technology today, they can watch the replay. You know what I mean? But I won't stop doing Living in My Truth on Wednesdays. Every day and a great day. You know what I mean? And I don't expect it. This thing goes up and goes down all the time. You know? But them ratings come through. You know what I'm saying? Them ratings come through. They may not be on here while I'm sharing, but they clicking. You know, they're clicking. You know, times. You know when I'm not even on this live. You know what I'm saying? So I am grateful that this thing was planted. You know, under construction again. That was planted. You know that we can do this. You know, and have these episodes on this technology, and this thing gonna keep coming up and keep coming up, and people gonna still watching, gonna still see. You know what I mean? Like I said, if I had one person, it was just me and you, we'd be getting it in. You hear what I'm saying? I'm not looking for you know, like I'll be telling people, You know, like I'm on an Oprah show. I do this from the heart. I do this so people can learn. I do this so family members can get to understanding, you know, and loved ones understanding the addict, you know, and the alcoholic, you know, and still love their people. Don't wait till they die. Don't wait till they get mentally done. You know what I mean? You gotta help them. You gotta keep praying for them. You can't make us stop. No. You know what I'm saying? But you ain't gotta give up on us. That's for sure, because whatever you try to do that, we are still yours. We are still your loved one. We are still your daughter. We still your son. You're still your mother. It's still your grandmother. You know what I'm saying? And know them is know you. You follow what I'm saying? And everybody in life don't follow life on life terms in the way that they supposed to be. That's why they think they part-time addicts, or they think they're not. You know what I mean? I just drink on the weekends. You know what I mean? Learning and hearing some of this information and education can allow you to understand that, you know, some of us is weaker than others. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of people you see out here today that you can't believe that's messed up. You know what I mean? And then some of the ignorance that come from a lot of us today. Oh, they this, they that, they this, they that. You know what I mean? I knew there was this from all up. Then lies come in, you know, then exaggerations come in, and that person is dying. That person is out there destructive as I don't know what. You understand what I'm saying? Suffering under all those bricks in that big building that fell down on them. You know what I mean? And they don't know how to get out. You know what I mean? We got to start loving more. We got to start praying more. You know what I mean? But we got to stop talking smack, especially when you don't have a clue of what they're really going through. So I hope that Living in My Truth is allowing you to get some information and education about who we are. You know, you notice I'm always going to say we, because that's what we are. You know what I mean? When you're an addict, you're always going to be an addict. And if you're in disbelief with that's your thing. You know what I mean? But I'm going to always know and recognize the power of disease. You know what I mean? And I know I got today, I got the stopper for it. Yes, I have a higher power greater than myself and greater than disease that will keep me fighting and will continuously to put that armor on me so I can keep giving you this information and education. You know? I write down things, y'all. Y'all know I like to keep things flowing, and I like to keep them going. I don't know why my phone is doing this. Now, I got the thing down. On. I don't know why it's doing it. You know what I mean? But love yourself, y'all. You know, learn to love yourself. Just know that changes is going to come. Believe that. You know, as I was saying about the rock bottom, you know what I mean? Your rock bottom is when you just had enough. You know, enough is enough. I can't do no more. You know what I mean? I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I'm going to die. You know what I mean? You got to realize that this is what this thing is doing to you. It's killing you. You know what I mean? No matter how much fun we had at the beginning, this thing has done some tremendous dirt and unhealthiness to us. It has done a lot of damage to us that may have just not popped up yet, but it will, especially sociables. You know what I mean? It will, you know. But to God be the glory that we have rehabs today. You know, we have people who are surviving this disease, you know what I mean, that are willing to share and care, you know, for the still suffering, you know, addicts and alcoholics today, you know, anybody with addiction. You know, I'm open to any addiction, you know, but my life is recovery. You know what I'm saying? And if I can bring anybody on here that can share something that can help somebody else, this platform is open, you know. So that's what it was built for, you know, to open up. And anybody who would like to come share, you know, messenger me, you know, and come on. We're going to talk about whatever you talk about. You follow? I think I could talk about a little bit of anything and everything from all the war storm that I've been through. You know what I mean? And I'm only 66 years old. You follow what I'm saying? And life ain't over for me yet. God didn't say it was. You know? But so far, out of that 66 to 42 years that I've been clean, you know, I've been getting to know me very well. You know what I mean? I've still made mistakes and I still had ups and downs. But the more that I look towards him, you know what I mean? And believe in him, you know, my life will get better. You know, and so will yours. You know? But I'm a person that I can come on here and I can talk about, you know, what I've done. You know, I will always accept what is and let go of what was, you know what I mean, and have faith in what will be. That's where I'm at today. You know what I'm saying? And I do it all one day at a time, y'all. One day at a time. God opened doors that no man, no hater, no devil, and no enemy can shut, you know, with me right now. You know what I'm saying? You know, and I thank him for that. I'm so grateful for that. You know, my change is remarkable to me. My change is the best thing I've ever done in my life. You know what I mean? And I'm grateful. I'm truly grateful. I'm grateful for you guys being on this live with me. I'm grateful for you listening. You know, make sure y'all share this thing. You know, once we come off, you know, God knows the battle. You know, you don't tell nobody about it. You know what I'm saying? You know, he will get you through it. And I know that today. You know, he sees you why no one else did. When you are powerless, admit that you are powerless. You know what I mean? Come to believe that he's greater. Come to believe that he's real. You know what I mean? You feel it. You feel it like that first hit. And that first hit can't touch it. That's the thing. It was greater than the first hit. You know what I mean? Or my first decision to be out in the street. My first decision to be a part of society in the wrong way. You know what I mean? It's beautiful. It is beautiful. And it gives me peace. You know? Peace. I mean, things still happen, you know, but nobody could break this peace for me but me. You know what I mean? Because I talk to God and I try to make the best and the righteous decision on what the situation it is. You know? I thought I saw. Hey, did I say hi, Breon? If not, I'm saying it now, bro. You follow? I done got lost on all of what everybody was saying. Y'all know I get to rolling, I can't think. You know, we're always under construction, Tree says, because we are always evolving. That's right, sis. That's right. Absolutely. Hey, Dar. Dar, I want you at the LMT Awards this year. You know? Let me try to get some more of this. I done missed it. But anyway, I appreciate y'all being on. You know, I'm feeling amped up right now. You know what I mean? It's hard to come down when you amped up. I do want to say recovery is possible. It definitely is if you're willing, you know, to get through, to go through, to come through. You follow what I'm saying? Start surrounding yourself with people who wants to change. You know what I mean? That's what I was meaning by, you know, stop using but still being around the same people, places, and things. You know, to change more than complain when time gets rough. You have to choose your people. You do. Family members, friends, people on the job, people at the church. Don't matter. You know what I mean? People, places, and things is everywhere. You know, it's like a disease just surround us with it. Because, you know, he got a group of believers too. You know what I mean? He got a powerful group of believers. And they ain't going to get out the way. You got to recognize. You follow what I'm saying? You got to recognize. Anytime the devil can take you and turn you under destruction, you know what I mean, and pile all that mess up on top of you that you don't know nothing, don't see nothing, can't hear nothing, you know what I mean, you can't eat nothing, you can't think nothing, but what it wants you to think about, that's a powerful joker. He's a powerful thing. Disease is cunning, baffling, and powerful. You hear what I'm saying? And believe me, he got his crew. He has his army. You know what I mean? So this is what I mean by, you know, when you hit rock bottom, that's where you are. You in the devil's pit. You know? You in the devil's pit. You know? So you'll know when your rock bottom is. The rock bottom is when you have enough is enough, and you just have to surrender. You know? You have to ask for help. You have to go to rehab, go to emergency room. You know what I mean? Plenty hotlines on the line today. This technology is great. You know what I'm saying? You have to want to do something for yourself. You follow? You'll know when that rock bottom is a rock bottom. You know, because the devil's going to make you definitely feel what disease sets out. And it's going to make you hurt. It's going to make you suffer. So in that word, when you want to live, that means it's time to surrender. It's time to surrender. and get honest. You know, you can't live with this thing. This thing is not going to do you any justice. It's not going to do you any good. It's going to kill you. You know, and it has that little thing with it that'll make you, do all this work and you're under this construction. You know what I mean? But it will strike you dead as soon as you take your mind, body, soul, life off of this thing. And sometimes you can sit around and be around like it's not doing nothing to you, but it's always doing something. It's just that we have a God that's is stronger than it. You know what I mean? And we come to believe that. And that belief is going to keep you protected. That belief is going to keep you protected. Understand what I'm saying when I say that. It's going to always keep you protected because you believe in that God. And nothing is no powerful than him. You know? So we don't shut down, y'all. We don't shut down. Hey, Chris. How you doing? The place in your help and support changed my life. Thank you. You know what I mean? But you did that. You know what I'm saying? I just share. You know what I mean? I'm on here as a soldier. I'm on here as a grateful recovering addict. And I just talk the talk. You know what I mean? You chose to save your life, not me. I'm just here giving you information and education and never let anybody take that from you. Because without you doing the work, it won't exist. I don't care what I say, how I say it, when I say it, why I say it. You know what I mean? If you don't come to believe, in it, and if you don't find your ammo, this is what we do as recovering addicts. We're ammo for each other. You know what I mean? We come and give what we got so that it can help you, so you can help somebody else. You know what I mean? That's all God asks us to do. You follow what I'm saying? It'll become simple. When you get honest with yourself. Look, y'all, I'm shaking my hair now, and I like my hair. I jumped to another thing. I'm just letting y'all know. You follow what I'm saying? But he just made me feel really grateful. You know what I mean? Like I said, if I get one, job is well done. Job is well done. You follow? Job is well done because let you know, Chris, somebody helped me. You know what I mean? A whole lot of everybody helped me today, because I have the wisdom to know the difference as you do too. You know what I mean? Just know that it never stopped. We will always be under construction. Remember that word, under construction. We'll always be under construction. You follow? And thank you for that. I thank you for that anyway. Chris said, Miss T, love you and miss all y'all at Keystone. I love when a lot of my clients come on here. They'll say, Miss T, give me the information to your podcast. You know what I mean? I want to check it out. And believe me, they come on. And that makes me feel so good. It makes me feel appreciated. You know what I mean? But all the work came from you. That's you getting honest. That's you wanting this. You know what I mean? I'm just here just delivering the message. That's all I'm doing, is delivering the message. And you got to catch what you want out of it that's going to build your bear. You understand what I'm saying? Like a Build-A-Bear. You're going to take the pieces and you're going to take whatever hears you that's going to help you, and then you build your own bear. A lot of us don't agree. We agree to disagree on certain things as well. But what works for you is under your control. You know what I'm saying? That's under your control. And you accept out of any of this, of what's being said for you, because we are individuals. You understand what I'm saying? And everybody, has a perfect timing. I'll share about that. Everybody has a perfect timing when they ready to get it, when they ready, set, go. You know what I mean? And we become Olympic runners. You follow what I'm saying? But don't be too ripe. You know what I'm saying? Keep it green. All these things that was in the rooms, and the literature that they had, some of it a lot, everything changes. You know what I mean? Those are the things that I came up on, which should never, to me, should have, people, these young people don't know nothing about it. You know what I mean? And that's why I still share it, because it appears to me like you get it that way. And all I'm being honest and truthful, and I'm just giving you what was given to me. And hoping that you can appreciate it as you just said, you know what I mean, and take this thing and live your life. But always know that we're going to always have to keep learning and live under construction. Just know that. I see you under construction. That's all right. You know, so y'all, I know we're getting close probably to the time, you know, of coming off. And believe me, I ain't felt good all day. I really haven't, but I felt good this 1 hour. 1 hour and a half, I tell you, because he'll do it. You know what I mean? Sometimes I'll be like, dang, I'm going to have to not do it this week. You know, and all that. I'm not trying to miss a week. I'm not trying to miss one. And for as long as my Father, my God, will give me the strength, you know what I mean? I'm going to come on here and I'm going to do my best and do what I need to do. You know, so y'all don't forget, Living in My Truth Awards banquet is coming up. We're going to be walking the purple carpet, y'all. You're going to get interviewed as you coming in. You know what I mean? We have great entertainment. I'm getting ready to put those flyers out. You know, as far as the entertainment is concerned, but first we had to put out the honorees. You know, and again, this year, I put another little segment in as the Distinguished Civic Impact recipients, you know, which are Kiana Palmer, Trina Smith, Sharona Brown, Chaplain Amanda Johnson, Councilwoman Tamika Williams. You know, these are 5 young women that I think that is out there doing such a blessing, you know, in the community, as well as Felicia. They all, her and Sharona is together, far as on the autism, you know, walk, you know, and all. I'm grateful for you guys, you know what I mean? And you guys was just God's pick, God's children, to do just what you do, as same as myself, you know what I mean? And I admire it. I admire, and I get strength from you all, you know? And it's going to be at the Dream Terminal over town. My girl Tara, you know what I mean? She was right there. She made the date happen, you know what I mean? And she is also going to be a part of this, you know? And then we have the recipients. Y'all know Quanisha, she's on here right now, and I appreciate you, girl, and love you. Councilman Fred Green, Bishop Anthony C. Hanna, Anitra Green, Bayot Williams, Erica Tillery, Marta Cotman, Mary Almond, Rufus Cotman, Coretta Kinder, Rosalind Sini, Tara Jones, Dr. Tracy Townsend, and Dr. William Reverend Rocky Brown, and Sharon Potts. These are the honorees of 2026 LMMT Awards. Y'all dress up because that's what we do. You know, we like the Grammys. Y'all dress up and you come out, you'll eat. The only thing you won't have is alcohol and liquor. That's about it. You know what I mean? But we're going to show you what it feels like to party without it. You follow what I'm saying? Because we still party. And we still have a great time. And an awesome time. You follow what I'm saying? Don't let that stop you. Come on out and celebrate with us. Because every last one of these people are deserving. You know what I mean? Every last one of them. You know, anybody that comes sits on this couch is going to be rewarded by Tracy Allen Living in My Truth. God is blessing it, and that's what's going to happen. That's my plan. You follow? So y'all get your tickets. Come on out. You know what I mean? Food, fun, entertainment, you know, and the honorees, you know, and party if you want to afterwards. You follow? We got DJ Vinny, you know what I mean? We got the photographers. You know, we're doing this thing real. We're doing it right. So y'all come on and get your tickets. You know, that place only seat 150 people, and tickets are starting to go. So if you really want to come on. You can get the tickets from all the honorees. You follow? Or if not, you can messenger me. You know what I'm saying? You know, or you can Cash App, which my Cash App is on here, saying for a ticket, and, you know, and your name. Okay? So, again, y'all come on out and celebrate with us. You know, you're going to get some real live stuff, real live entertainment. And I hope to see you all, you know, at the LMMT. Well, I want to see everybody dressed up sharp. That's what I want to see. You know what I mean? Because, hey, we did the thing last year. We had a great time, a beautiful time. You know what I mean? And, it, you know, so we didn't even want to end it, some of us. You know what I'm saying? Because you get to seeing people and socializing, you know, just being community. That's what it is, being community. You know, so come on out and share this with us. I'm definitely going to put the serenity prayer down. God grants me the serenity to accept the things I can't change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. If anybody want to send a donation, I meant to mention that too. You know, we have a sponsoring that's going on as well. She gave me till the end of this week. So if anybody who still wants to put a page, a quarter page, a half page, or a whole page in, you know, please let me know and messenger me, please. The quarter page is $25, the half page is $50, and the whole page. If you got a business, if you got, you know, anything, you want to put in some awesome words, if you want to say what you feel about living in my truth or the persons that's being honored, come on, put it in. You know what I mean? It's only make it greater. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I put it out this year, you know, to see how many people will, you know, honor that. You know what I mean? You know, so again, at the end of this week, which is, she's saying Sunday, I can't receive anymore for the sponsor. Oh, wow. For the sponsoring, you know, book, you know. So, come on, y'all, donate. Help us help this thing. You know what I mean? I am LLC, you know what I mean? Nonprofit. You know, so what I do comes from what I do, comes from me, you know. So if anybody left my Cash App on here, if anybody want to make a donation, it doesn't matter what or how much, you know what I mean, I would appreciate that. And if anybody left me a star on here, I appreciate that too. Whether or not they're there or not, I still want to say that I don't want to get through this and not, you know, be grateful and say thank you. You know, so I'll see you guys next Wednesday. We'll have a guest for next Wednesday. You know, I'll advertise it through the week, you know, and everybody be blessed. You know, and get ready. Come on and support me and come to this Living in My Truth award show. All right, so I'm going to be out. And thank y'all.